Since I ventured into Malayalam cinema, I have seen a lot of investigation thrillers. That is one genre that is explored a lot in Kerala. But is this Tovino film one of the best? Let's talk about it. Hello guys, I'm Nona and today we're talking about the Malayalam film Anweshippin Kandethum, streaming on Netflix right now in 5 different languages. If you haven't seen the film, it's a solid film, you should definitely check it out. Now, as I said, I have seen so many investigation thriller films from Malayalam cinema that there's always this feeling of repetition. Of course, the cases will be different. The way they are solved is different. Sometimes even the execution of the film is different. But by the end, it's always the same. The case will be solved. And there will be different permutations and combinations for it to happen. Still, there are some really good ones, like Irata or Joseph, Mumbai Police, Kannur Squad, Kuttavam Sikshayam, Salute, Forensic, Anjam Patira, Abraham Othler, which we got recently. And then the ones that stood out for me were Operation Java, a cyber crime investigation thriller, an action hero Bijju, which has multiple cases being solved, but in a comedic way. Then we had Ila Veda Ponchira, a very atmospheric thriller. So these films did something different that made them stand out. And similarly, Anweshippin Kandethum, it's a really good thriller, but there are many attributes that make it stand out, such as the story, the screenplay structure, the world building. First, let's talk about the case or the cases we see in the film. They are simple, and don't get me wrong. Of course, it's a murder mystery. There's effort to solve the case, but the magnitude of the case is small because all of it is happening at a single location. There is no big conspiracy going on. There are no big players involved. There is no reveal of a serial killer. Or sometimes it's personal to our protagonist. There's nothing like this. So that simplicity is actually very refreshing. And the world building is very different. We never get a backstory to our characters. We never get to explore their personal lives. There's no love interest. There are no such stakes. But still, there's depth in them. You get a clear understanding who these characters are, what they do. You don't need that extra stuff for it to work. And as I said, the case is happening in a single location. So there's an effort to make you understand the geography of the place. You can follow the series of events clearly. Even the obstacles the team is facing in solving the case are very real. There's a lot of cooperation, from the villagers. There's politics at play. There's religious bias involved. All of this is clouding the judgment. There's a lot of community influence. The goal is not just to catch the culprit. There's police brutality involved. There's a lot of pressure on the police to solve the case quickly. The image of the police is at the stake. So all these elements make the film very dense and grounded. And the structure of the screenplay is very unique, and it really surprised me because it's very unpredictable. Like the first case in the film gets solved within 40 minutes. And I was wondering, what now? There's still so much movie left. But then we see that our characters solved the case, but they failed to provide justice. And because of that failure, now they are on a redemption arc. But even the case they get for that is quite impossible. Again, the characteristics of the case is very similar from the first one. It's simple, but there's so many other things involved. And even for our characters, they're unsure should they take the case or not. Can they even get a redemption or not? If no one could solve the case, can they do it? Really? So I like this doubt the characters had. There's no melodrama. Oh, I have to prove myself. I'm worthy of this uniform. There's nothing like that. No dialogue. There's no emotion like this. And this case is way more harder than the first one. There's more incorporation. Over that, there's a lot of anger from the villagers. They're going into a very hostile place. And that too with less power than they had before. When you do such division between two cases in a single film, there's always this risk of, not feeling connected to the story, to the case. Not being that invested into it because you're not getting that much time to, spend with them. But surprisingly, this film makes you feel for all the characters within the time they had to establish them. And overall, the way the investigation flows is very organic. I also like that there was no Sherlock Holmes kind of, feeling to the investigation. Oh my god, a genius is here to solve the case. No, it's very simple and basic. Like Tovino's character, from the beginning you can sense a certain pride he has wearing the uniform. And there's a very thin line between pride and arrogance. The way the film starts with a quick montage, establishing his character, who he is, what kind of person he is. He's a good cop. It's well done. But we also realize that he's quite impulsive, and that backfires also. And after experiencing that failure, we see a change in him in the second half, where he is more cautious, where he is thinking over what to do next. And this change is very, very subtle. Again, something I really enjoy in the film. Nothing is on your face. Now, technically, I think the film is shot really well. It's very cinematic. It is a period film also, set in the 90s, and the locations they found to shoot the film, you could sense they spent a lot of time, figuring out these places. There was attention to detail. And solving a case where there's no internet, no mobile phones, nothing like that. It used to happen. But to watch a film like that, again, it makes the story more refreshing. The background music was very subtle, but very on point. Now, there was some inconsistency with the visual style of the film. Like, there were some cool bits they did in the beginning of the film, but then that never came back later. Like our protagonist visualizing the crime scene, being present there while it's happening in front of him. But that just happened once and we never got that back. And there is a lot of, characters talking about what has happened and explaining that to our characters and us as audience. And I felt they could have tried something more, visually appealing, because it does get boring because there's just a lot of dialogue, and becomes basic of, just showing some flashbacks what has happened. A stylistic approach for the explosion scenes could have been really good. Now, there was this one chase sequence in the film which, felt a bit forced and unconvincing. The chase was not the problem, but trying to make it a chase sequence, that really kind of took me out of the film for a second. But just a minute thing. But the ending of the film, without giving away, a lot happens, and the way we leave the characters, it's very, unusual. We don't expect that a lot in our films. But is it one of the best investigation thriller? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And then in this video, check out the new age mass cinema, which we are getting through Malaiko Devaliban, Dune Part 2, Captain Miller. So check out this video next, and I will see you next time.